So in a few moments' time, we'll bring the grid to you for that opening race of the day. It is obviously random grids here for the Cadet and Junior Kart Championship. So throughout the day, you'll see drivers bouncing up and down that grid as they then head towards the final at the end of the day. Nicholas Ellis then will start the day on pole position with Maximus Shields alongside. James Waring, a new name to the championship, starts in P3 with Sam Stoner alongside on the second row. Tristan Powell, another new driver, joining us here at Llandow, having competed here last week as well, with Harry Hurst Grover sharing the third row. Ollie Naylor and Tom Holden are on row 4 with Jaden Hewitt and Melissa Adrian on row number 5. Championship leader Jacob Duke starts in P11, alongside him Bartak Filipiak. And then we're going to have Curtis Latimer, but I'm not sure he's here, so that's just going to leave us with the 12 runners in our junior Rotax class. As I mentioned, 2 new names on the grid. James Waring joins us from Catterall in Lancashire with Tristan Powell from Milton Keynes. He was here last weekend when another championship was here at the glorious Llandow here in South Wales. Practice about 1 minute and 10 remaining then in our Honda Cadet class, as we see pretty much all of our drivers staying out for the full session, whereas earlier on with the Rotaxes, there was a number of drivers coming in after only 3 or 4 laps. All they went out for was really to scrub their tyres and just get themselves into a position for the rest of the race day here at Llandow. Cadet and Junior Kart Championship have a slightly different ruling to some other classes in terms of their tyre allocation. So some drivers were out on new tyres, some are out on used. Certainly when you look at Honda Cadet, they only have 2 sets of tyres in terms of slicks and 2 sets of wets for the entire season. Fairly sure they'll not be needing the wets though here today, as we'll be touching somewhere in the region of 30 degrees as we head towards midday. So as our juniors are getting themselves ready to go out, as I mentioned, so we're going to have a rolling start for all of our 2-stroke classes. So that's Junior Rotax, Mini Max and Micro Max. They'll all have a rolling start, whereas our Honda Cadets and our Junior Pro Karts, our 4-stroke classes, they will have a standing start. So they'll go out and just be gridded straight up. Now, I'm not sure in terms of whether they're going to get a full rolling up lap and then come round to grid up, or whether they're just going to be able to roll out and grid straight up. I get the feeling they're going to get 1 lap to warm those tyres, as the 87 of Tom Holden can't be placed down onto the ground. Now, in terms of practice, the checkered flag is out here at Llandow. James Fabricius setting the early pace in the Honda Cadet class with Tom Drake in the 19. He was very, very quick in practice yesterday, the second quickest, with Max Gray-Trex in third. But this practice session, around about 9 or 10 laps, some drivers were definitely out there on their newer tyres, using their allocation late into the season here at Llandow. We've got a couple of guest drivers as well, where if you're a guest driver, you don't get to just bolt on a brand new set and just be quicker than everybody else on used. You have to either use those new tyres in a certain amount of practice sessions on the Saturday, or you can just use a used set before we go out onto track. So it's not like the guest drivers are going to get any sort of advantage over everybody else. So karts are all into position then, with the 7 on pole position of Nicholas Ellis. He is on the left-hand side. Now, left-hand side here for the pole position. What that does also mean, though, is that you are on the outside for the first corner, for the hook, the right-hander, and then it's very, very tight here at Llandow Circuit. So you go off the start line. The circuit does creep left ever so slightly, and then there is a right-hander, but then there's a really, really tight left. So the pole position is going to have you in the on that right side. We are going to have a slight delay before we get going in Rotax, as I think the 87 of Cameron Tipping has stopped in the practice session. We saw that kart whilst I was talking to Sean Goff earlier on the screen. We saw that kart parked up on the side of the track down at the far end. So somebody's gone out with a trolley just to retrieve that kart. So we'll have a delay of about a minute or so whilst they collect that kart. And in fact, that's I think it's Ben House ago, because it looks like we have had maybe a couple of drivers that have not had a trouble-free practice session here this morning. If I have a quick look at the live timing, which you can also find at live.alphatiming.co.uk/Cadet Kart Champ if you want to create yourself a bit of a pit wall as well as watching the live stream. So we've got a couple of drivers that have only been out for a few laps this morning. Please do as well get in touch with us via the live chat comments, as a few of you have already done so, and we will endeavour throughout the day to dip into those live chats. So please let us know who you're supporting and where you're watching from. and then we'll be able to give you and your drivers a shout out. Nick Warmby's on saying, come on Nick. We've had Freya Yeadon saying morning. Also, her son Samuel will be racing here in the Cadet Kart Championship for the first time. Keep an eye out for him in the 118 in the Honda Cadet class. Michael Burke joins us once again from the other side of the world. It's 6:53 over there in Australia. Thanks for joining us as well, Michael. We appreciate you watching. Emma Hurst-Grover saying, morning David, good luck to Harry Hurst-Grover in the 14. He'll be out in this heat that's coming up. She is watching from home. Sunbather as well has been on saying, good morning everybody. Looking forward to a great day's racing, supporting Callum Foster in the number 69 in Minimax. There is your grid then. That's Nicholas Ellis on the right-hand side with Maximus Shields alongside on the left with the gold helmet. You'll be seeing quite a lot of him throughout the day. He's one of two drivers that's pulling double duty here at a very warm Llandow. He'll be out as well as the junior Rotax class in junior pro kart as well. We also have Harris Roberts, the current championship leader in our Honda Cadets. He's pulling double duty because he has broke the Micro Max out of the box as well. He was using that last weekend here at Llandow. He obviously feels that he's got enough pace to run at the sharp end in that in the Mini Max class. So he's switching between the two and practicing yesterday, as we see the 18 of Ayrton Rye being brought back into the pit lane, as with the 7 of Rio Wardley. So a number of drivers, as we mentioned, not being able to complete that practice session with a few issues. Some good times coming in though, down into the mid-50s in that practice session. The top, looking at it, we had the top 20. The top 20 split by less than a second. And the top 10 by only just under half. So it's going to be very, very tight in that Honda Cadet class, particularly with it being a random grid format. It's going to be very, very difficult to get through this Llandow circuit. Whilst when you look at the track map, looks like there's a fair few overtaking opportunities. It's one of those tracks where if you go for an overtake and it doesn't quite come off, you could quite easily lose 4 or 5 places, because everywhere is quite a tight braking zone. So if you get it wrong on the way in, you're going to get swamped by this incredibly tight field on the way out. Carts have just been wheeled off, back down into the bottom of the paddock. So they've got to come all the way back down the start straight to get them off the track. And then we'll be in a position to go racing here for the first time at Llandow. We've got 20 heats and then another 5 finals across the 5 classes here today. We'll start then obviously with Junior Max, who are gridded up. Then we'll go to Micro Max and Mini Max. Then we switch to 4-stroke with Junior Pro Kart and Honda Cadet. We'll continue the same cycle all the way throughout the day towards the final, and we'll obviously end the day then with the Honda Cadet class. Target to finish is around about 3:30, all being well. Final instructions there, just like they're being given to the drivers. They've just been given the board for 5 seconds. Then they get to start their engines, and they are out of the holding area for the first time. Now, what they have to do on this outlap is get as much temperature into these tyres that they possibly can, so that when they come to that first heavy braking zone, they've got enough confidence, not only in the tyres, but in the brakes, that they're going to get it stopped. Because with it being a rolling start, the pole sitter gets to control the pace, and that's why he's going to go out now with a fair bit of guns, because he's going to try and get as much temperature into those tyres. But then as he heads down onto that back straight, he's going to slow it down, back the entire field up, and it will be the pole sitter's prerogative then to dictate the pace all the way through to the start line. There's a lights on the overhead gantry, so that's your pole sitter on the outside, making his way down the back straight. The final 2 will need to close right up, and they do, just at the right time as they head round the Raymond's hairpin at the bottom end of the track. And we have our first race of the day is a false start, and we will roll them round again and have another bite at the cherry. So Ellis will lead them round once again. So as you can see right at the top of the screen there, false start, and as you can see from all of our drivers, no racing going on that opening lap. So everybody looked to be in a fairly comfortable position, but not close enough that our starter was happy to get things underway. So it will once again be Ellis leading them round with Shields alongside. This part of the track down that back straight into the right-hander of Chandler's right at the top of the track, which will cover later on. This is probably the most important section of track on of tarmac here at Llandow, into the Dell. No real overtaking opportunity, but it does put you out onto this back straight. So a good run is very, very important as they make their way down into what will be the heaviest braking zone of the Raymond's hairpin. And it's going to see, that's where we're going to see some late lunges and some overtakes here then at Llandow. Through they go into the tram lines, and we're away and racing, and Ellis has bolted and all the way around the outside. Comes at the outside of the train. So if you were on in any of the odd numbers, third and all the way down, as Max Shields crosses the line in fourth place, but he's well down the field. There he is with the gold helmet coming all the way through. Not sure, in fact, we've had a false start. So we did have a green at the start, and then it was called as a false start. So we're going to have another go at it here at Llandow as everybody gets into position. So as they went off there, it looked like Ellis was a little bit further ahead than everybody else, so maybe that's why. And obviously then they're not going to see the false start flag, which is green with a yellow chevron on it, until they get round towards the double left-hander at Surtees, because they're going to be there. You see it on the outside there at the Dell, that green flag with the yellow arrow on it. That indicates a false start. Let's see if it can be third time lucky then in Junior Rotax as they make their way round the Raymond's hairpin for the time. We're away this time. The green is down. It looks like we've got the go-ahead to go racing. And once again, it is the outside that sweeps all the way around the outside, with the 28 slotting into second place. Just trying to find out who that is on terms of timing, because the 28 doesn't have a name allocated to it. Could be, oh, it is. It's James Waring, sorry, who's been signed on. Yeah, there he is, James Waring, sorry, in the 28. Just missed that one, but he's moved all the way around the outside and into second place as they head down towards the Dell. And it looks like Tristan Powell has made the move all the way around the outside there, and Max Shields has come through as well. We'll get a confirmed timing when they come through at the end of the first lap, but it is Powell up into second with Shields in third, as there's a move all the way around the outside there by Sam Stoner. They come over the line then for the first time. Ellis leads away from Tristan Powell and Max Shields, the top three. Jacob Dukes up from 11th place, right on the back row, up into fourth place already, with Harry Hurstgrover fifth, with Stoner, Holden, Hewitt, Waring and Latimer completing the top 10 in front of Melissa Adrian, who moves up here in the JKC Championship into the junior ranks for the first time, having raced all the season so far in Mini in front of Bartak Filipiak in P12. They head then down towards the back straight into the Dell, and Waring takes a little bit too much curb on the inside there. Well, that compromises exit and allow Melissa Adrian in the background to get alongside, and she does. So it's saying they're going to be three wide into that bottom corner as Tom Holden takes a huge chunk of curb. Ellis, though, continuing to lead the way from Tristan Powell, with Jacob Dukes finding a way past Maximus Shields there down the inside of the hook, and he moves up into the top three. The top four now have a good gap of around about a second at least on timing, although I think that will have closed up slightly with Dukes finding a way past Shields, and Dukes is going to try and get down the inside of Tristan Powell, down into the right-hander of Chandler's, and does onto the back straight, and then into the Dell complex. 10 minutes plus 1 lap for all of our heats, then we go to 15 plus 1 lap for the final. And Jacob Dukes is now right on the back of Nicholas Ellis, but has plenty of time to find a way through, so doesn't need to rush this one. Having said that, straight through and into the lead. What do I know? Jacob Dukes then takes the lead from Nicholas Ellis, and it looks like Max Shields there in the background gets down the inside of Tristan Powell, and he too is up into third place as Powell then runs into the back of Shields into the right-hander of McWerthers. Shields then chops across to the inside to stop the cutback into the right-hander right down there at the far end of the circuit. Dukes, while he's managed to get through on Ellis, hasn't actually managed to pull away by too much. He's opened up a few kart lengths so that Ellis isn't able to attack, as Shields in third place defends to the inside from Tristan Powell. I think while Shields has obviously managed to move through, we'll need a lap or so to try and put a bit more of a gap between himself and Powell, so that he doesn't have to defend down there into Raymond's hairpin at the bottom end of the track. Powell, though, we know carried a lot of speed into this corner, and once again does close up into the right-hander at McWerthers on Maximus Shields. And so Shields looks to have a little bit of an edge in the first part of, and maybe the middle part of the track, with then the other two sections being more towards Powell's liking. Behind them, though, there's a good battle going on in the background there. So we have from Harry Hurst Grover, looks like all the way down to Curtis Latimer in 9th place. And now it looks like it's actually Tom Holden leading the way in that train. It is. He's moved up into 5th place. Hurst Grover then down into 6th. There's a change further down the order as well as Bartek Filipiak and Melissa Adrian swap places. That moves Filipiak up inside the top 10 in this junior Rotax opening heat. Jacob Dukes now at the front has managed to start to open up that gap. It's over a second back to Nicholas Ellis, who in turn has 4/10 to Maximus Shields. As they head down towards the Dell complex, the leader's already through. The battle that we've just watched through there was Tom Holden, who, since he's got through, has now opened up a few cart lengths on Harry Hurst Grover. They're all still nose to tail, though. Dukes opens up another 2/10 on the rest of the field. And then everybody else is still fairly consistent. 4/10 between them, so the gap comfortable that the drivers don't have to defend, but not enough that they can ease off. As Ellis there in 2nd place, with Shields still in 3rd and Powell in 4th. Things have really settled down in the middle of this race. Expect it to get a little bit tastier in around about 2 minutes' time as we start heading towards that last lap board and the checkered flag. Particularly with these tyres in Rotax, because they do have a finite operating window, and you'll often see drivers, they have the carts either good to go at the early phase of the race or towards the end, and it's one or the other. The times as we head towards the middle, tumbling, Jacob Dukes with the fastest lap of the race, eclipses his previous one by a few tenths. The gap though is still only 1.6 because Nicholas Ellis too put in a personal best on that previous lap. Look like Tom Holden there, kicking up the dust on the outside. That curb on the outside, if you get a wheel on it, it's fine, but if you get a wheel over it, you really do have to ride it out. It's like a toboggan run. Once you're on for the entire duration of that curb. On the way out of McWerthers onto the Lancaster curve, you have no other option really other than to ride that out all the way down until the curb ends. And that's where we see a lot of drivers just kicking up quite a lot of dust on the outside. It really does slow you down though, because you're dragging the underside of your chassis and floor tray all the way down a big concrete curb. Personal best for Tristan Powell in 3rd place in the battle in front of this one. Holden has moved away. He's quite a lonely 5th place, and you'll see him come through in a few moments' time. And then we've got Hurst Grover, Hewitt, Stoner and Latimer with only 4/10 between them. There you see them flashing through, and Holden actually has caught up to the battle in front and has managed to get past he's got past Max Shields, who in turn has been passed as well by Tristan Powell. So Tom Holden is the driver on the move here at the moment, with 3.5 minutes remaining of the opening race and opening heat for our junior Rotax class. He's up into 4th place, having closed in a gap of around about half a second to this battle in front, but now Shields is going to try and get back down the inside of Holden. Holden, if you can hold it out, is going to be on the outside, but then on the inside for the switchback hairpin. Shields, though, is back through into 4th place. So Tristan Powell running in 3rd, Shields up to 4th. Holden was the driver that was making the moves and was past Shields and had half a nibble at Powell on the previous lap. For 3rd place, succumbs though to Max Shields, who gets a good run out of the hook and onto the bomber straight before that double left at Surtees, where we've seen him make a number of overtakes already in this heat. And there he is with Tom Holden right behind. Will Holden pull the same move on him? He's not close enough, and Shields is tight enough and gets a good enough exit that doesn't have to worry about Holden coming through. The leader now has a gap of 3.4 seconds, continuing to put in laps that are around about half a second quicker than anybody else out there at the moment here at Llandow. And that is not a good sign for everybody else, because Jacob Dukes has come through from the back row. This is his furthest back start in the heats here, and he's come through to lead the way as Holden gets a good run on Max Shields out of the final corner. We'll have the inside into the left, but then we'll be on the outside for the hook. And Shields, I believe there, holds on, but the gap to the two in front is starting to open out now as Shields and Holden become preoccupied in their battle for 4th place. And they've lost around about a second to the battle between Ellis and Powell in front of them. 1.5 minutes remaining as Holden goes down the inside into the right-hander at Chandler's and looks like he's got that move done. So we're going to have Holden back up into 4th place. There he is, in the black helmet in front of Max Shields' gold one. Down the back straight, look over the shoulder to the left side, hard on the brakes for the Raymond's hairpin. 1 minute and 10 remaining. Lap times for our junior Rotax are in the regions of 43.5 for the front runners, so we're going to get 3 more laps because Jacob Dukes is going to be round with around about 15 seconds remaining, so we're going to get at least 3 more in here at Llandow. That'll take us to 16 laps. We're currently on lap number 13. And Holden has actually pulled out a bit of a gap this time since getting past Max Shields. So anything Shields can do to try and wrestle that 4th place back from Holden. In front of them, though, Nicholas Ellis and Tristan Powell as they head down the back straight. They've got a fairly comfortable gap between them. Ellis holding firm as Sam Stoner there in the background with Curtis Latimer behind him. Comes to the inside just to put Latimer off, considering that move down the inside. They have Harry Hurst-Grover behind them now, who'd held on valiantly to what was 6th place at the time, which was a battle then between Hewitt, Stoner and Latimer. All 4 of them were nose to tail for the early phase of this race, as Latimer partly gets alongside Sam Stoner. There's a little bit between them, but not enough to cause any issues. Leaders making his way down the bottom end of the track. The time is near to elapsing, so let's see whether he crosses and gets the last lap board. He does, and Jacob Dukes sees the last lap board for the first time here then today at Llandow, as once again Sam Stoner goes defensive, but then that's going to ruin his exit out of the Raymond's hairpin. And as they head down towards the hook, we'll keep an eye on that, on the timing as to whether it's Latimer or Stoner coming through. Your leader, though, already onto the Lancaster curve for the final time and into the right-hander at Chandler's, the furthest point away from the start line, as he heads then down towards the Dell for the final time. Onto the hanger straight for Jacob Dukes. It's been an assured drive for the opening race of the day from 11th, and that's Harry Hurst-Grover. Turns himself round from 9th place. Jacob Dukes, though, out of the final corner to win the opening race of the day here at Llandow. In the background, we're going to see Nicholas Ellis come through for a fine 2nd place in front of Tristan Powell, Tom Holden and Maximus Shields to complete your top 5. Hewitt's going to get 6 in front of Latimer and Stoner. And then it's going to be Bartak Filipiak, I think it is, yes, from Melissa Adrian over the line. James Waring 11th, and Harry Hurst-Grover crosses the line in 12th place after that final lap spin.